So we have everything ready that we need to get started. I have my paint colors, I have 3 brushes, a pencil, some water, and my canvas. For this one I'm using an 11 by 14. I'm going to have it the long way here. To start with, I'm going to mix some white and blue right here on my canvas. I want it to be a nice background for my snow people, and I don't want it to be very dark, so I'm going to use a little bit more white than blue. I'm using a chip brush, which puts a nice texture on the canvas. I'm going to cover the whole front of the canvas with this white and blue mixture. I might put a teeny bit of water with my paint, just the tiniest bit. So as I'm painting these brush strokes, I'm going to follow my stroke. Looks like I'm doing right to left, and I want it to be a little bit wispy, so I'm not blending the colors in perfectly. And I'm going to paint all the way down. So I'm about, I don't know, about 2/3 of the way down. And then I'm just going to use my brush and kind of dry it off down here. I don't want this part to be totally blue because that's going to be where my snow people are. I am going to paint my sides. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my canvas and kind of turn it on its side. And I'm going to paint the sides and the top all the way down so it's nice and covered. And this other side. And I'm going to leave the bottom because the bottom is going to be white because the snow people are white. So I am going to just take my extra blue and kind of get my brush cleaned off down here. And then we're ready for the next step. Now that my paint is dry, I put my big brush right in the water there. I'm going to go ahead and put my stencil down on my canvas. Might lift it up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and trace my stencil. Okay, and then using my medium brush, I'm going to go ahead and fill in just the shape on the tops of these little guys. I'm not going to fill them all the way in. I just want to kind of get the shapes in. Okay, so this guy right here is going to be in the front. So I'm going to take him and I'm going to make his head in the front there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a little curve for his little body and the other curve. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill this whole middle one in with my white paint. This is acrylic paint, like I mentioned, and you want to use one nice light coat. So I'm going to paint it with one coat, kind of following the shape of my snowman, and I'm actually not going to have everything completely covered. Acrylic paint gets kind of globby if you put too much on, so I'll go back and put another coat on. So now I have one nice layer on. Right here, I want the snowman to be separated so that you can tell the difference between the front one and the back one. So I put a little bit of gray on my brush, and I'm going to put a little bit of gray right there on the side, and now I put just plain white on my brush. So I added the tiniest bit of black, so small, and now I'm going to fill in with white, and I'm going to go all the way down here. So here's my front guy and then my back guy, and I'm going to put a little bit more black on my brush, just the tiniest bit, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just where it hits the snowman right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of it with white. And this is going to be my other snowman on the side, and he's going to have a little bit of blue showing through. There we go. And I'm going to let that dry. If you want to have things dry more quickly, you can use a blow dryer. I put a little bit of hot, warm air on there, and you can tell when it's dry when you touch it with your fingers and it doesn't stick. This one looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and start making the scarves. I have a tiny brush, and I'm going to show you how I make the scarves with this teeny little brush, and I'm going to use parentheses. So I'm going to mix orange and red and maybe a little white. This scarf color is kind of up to you. I want mine to be kind of a red scarf. So on this side over here, I'm going to put a little parenthesis, and I'm going to zip down towards this middle friend. And his neck would be right here, so his parenthesis goes there on one side and the other side. And then I connect the ends together. I'm just doing the outline right now. And this guy's scarf, I'm going to make a little bit lower, just like that. If you wanted to have parts of the scarf hanging down, you absolutely could. I think I'll put one right here. Okay, and that shape is kind of like a little triangle. It doesn't have to be exactly that shape, and I might put one right here. I usually have it skinnier up at the top, and then you could kind of have it angled out if you wanted. Then I'm going to put that little brush in the water, find my medium brush. I'm going to mix my orange and my white and my red together, and I'm going to fill in this first scarf all the way up to that line there. I'm going to use that same color to fill in the bottom of his scarf. And remember, this is acrylic. We're just going to do one nice soft coat. The middle scarf I'm going to have be a deeper red, so I'm just using a little bit more red on my brush. And then I'll fill in the hanging down scarf part. There we go. And then my other guy over here, I might put a little bit more orange with him. And I'm going to fill that in. So I didn't put the hanging down one on him. You absolutely can do that, or you don't have to put him in at all. Sometimes I think it's a lot to have all three of them with scarves, but you could put a scarf on this side and then have it hang down on that side. It's kind of up to you how you want it. So now that I'm looking at it, I think I might need to put one in. I'm going to put one right like this. I just felt like it needed a little something over there. Okay, so that's my first coat, and I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. So right now my scarves are drying. I'm going to put another coat onto my snow people. So now I have white on my medium brush, and I'm going to pull another coat through, and I'm not going to cover up all of it, the background. I'm just adding in just a little bit more color, so it's a little bit more white, and then on my edges. If you wanted it to be solid white, you can absolutely do that. You'll just need to do a couple coats, maybe 3, sometimes 4. So here's my middle guy. I'm going to follow the shape, the roundness of this little head here, and put in a second coat. And then down here, I'm going to do the same thing. I want a little bit of that blue to show through. It gives it some depth. There we go. So when I'm showing you how to paint, you don't have to use the brushes that I tell you to use if you don't want to. Right now I'm using my medium brush. If you'd rather use a different size brush, that's perfectly fine. So what I'm doing right now is just finishing up this third little snowman, giving the white a little second coat. And I do want to leave that a little bit of gray showing here so I can see the difference between the snowman. So I'm not going to paint over that completely. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let those guys dry. So now I'm going to put their noses on. Our little snowmen are looking up into the sky. And so I'm going to put their noses facing up. I'm going to use a little bit of white and a teeny bit of orange. And I'm going to put in the shapes on all of them. This one's nose is going to be facing this way. And then this friend over here, his nose is almost, it's like it's on top of his friend there. There we go. Okay, so I like the positioning on all of those, so I'm going to put a little bit more white and orange on my brush, and you really need the white for the first coat. You're going to go ahead and just fill in your first coat on all 3 of your noses. Okay, and then while those are drying, I'm going to put another coat on my scarves. So I added a little bit of white to my red, and I'm going to put a second layer of paint on these scarves. This middle one has more red. I want it to be a little bit darker. Okay. And then this guy over here, I'm going to add a little bit more orange and white, so it's a teeny bit lighter. So you can see with this second coat, it covers so much better. Okay, I might put just a little bit of white on my brush and pull a little bit of white through, just to give it a little highlight. And these little guys are still wet, so I'm going to go ahead and put on some snowflakes. I'm going to use the back of my brush and put it in the white. And I'm going to put in some little snowflakes. Okay. I think those are ready. So now I'm going to use more orange for the second coat, a little bit of white. That's getting stronger. The orange needs a couple coats. Okay. And then this last guy over here. Okay. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put on their little eyeballs. So what I like to do is I like to kind of decide where the first eye goes, and then the second one is going to be a little bit closer there to the nose. This middle guy, his eyeballs are pretty much the same distance away. And this guy is going to be the same thing. You have one eyeball that's further away and one that's closer. Some people use a little pencil to put their pencil marks in before they put in the black paint, but I just use the back of my paintbrush. And I'm looking at this, and I think that I want to put another bit of orange on the noses. So I put a little bit more orange on my paintbrush. Oh, that's way better. And I'm just going to put one more layer of orange. Okay. And at the very end, some people like to put a little bit of highlight of black on their scarves, kind of where the curves are, just to make them pop. Just like that. Okay. So now you have 3 sweet little snow people. So I'm going to go ahead and put the stencil on. If you purchased a stencil that came with your kit, I'm going to show you how to add it. So the first thing I do is I'm going to peel back this plastic like this. And so this is the vinyl sticker. And I kind of decide where I want it to be. I think it's right here is a kind of a good spot. So I'm going to go ahead and press it down with my fingers. And I actually have a trick. I forgot. I've got a piece of wood here. I'm going to put it underneath so it gives it some resistance. You can use a credit card. I've got a little tool here, and I'm going to just press all of the edges down. And you can kind of see it gets a little bit darker when it's adhering. And this part of it takes a little bit of time to get the sticker to release. And test it over here so you can see when I pull it back. And when it didn't stick, I just used my finger. Slowly pull it back. the sticker will stay right on the canvas. I want to let you know that when you do put the sticker on, your canvas needs to be really dry. If your paint is still wet, the sticker will not stick. So there we go, I have a vinyl sticker on there. I do want to show you on the back, I'm going to attach a ribbon. I did one side already. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. So now you have a sweet little snowman painting to hang up.